What's going on, fantasy football fans? Another week and another opportunity for me to embarrass myself. Last week I made a number of, let's call them dubious suggestions. Brentford being the one that really screwed me. But in fairness, who would have thought that Burnley would beat them 3-0? Burnley are pretty awful this year and Brentford have been pretty good. So what to make of that? But there were a couple of saving graces. Cornet over at Burnley. I did say if anyone was going to score, and there he was popping up with a goal. Now other people did score, but my point still remains valid. It was not a good week for me. I'm going to forget it. It was not a good week for most fantasy players, though, with a lot of big names not performing. However, Cristiano Ronaldo coming in clutch, as he did during the week in their European aspirations and just really keeping everyone happy and Ollie in his job. But it's going to improve. It's got to get better. So we're going to look at this week. Now I'm going to double down on my efforts because they can't screw me twice, said nobody ever after they've been screwed. I'm going to look at Brentford. Now Brentford have a pretty lovely looking game coming up. And then actually the next two games, they've got Norwich and Newcastle. Terrible teams, hemorrhaging goals. Newcastle's desperately trying to get a new manager in, but getting rejected. You know, even the old Arsenal manager didn't want to go there. But anyways, we're going to look at Brentford. We're going to start with Ethan Pinnock. Now he is a 4.7 million rated defender. I think he could be a good option. He's played almost every game for them so far. He's also scored a goal and an assist in the season. So he likes to get forward, likes to support the movements, getting up the pitch. And, you know, Brentford are going to want to bounce back strong after that defeat. That was not one they expected, and that is definitely not one that Frank will be happy with. So expect Brentford to come out strong, and definitely expect the fullbacks and particularly the rest of that team to want to get forward and be involved in the play. So Pinnock at 4.7 million at Brentford is my first choice. Leading up from that is Ben White. I've mentioned him on this before, on the pod I've mentioned him. A lot of us kind of scoffed, rolled our eyes and laughed when Arsenal paid 50 million for a Brighton defender in Ben White. But who's laughing now? They are playing great football. They're demolishing teams, Villa being one of them, and they look very solid at the back. Gabriel is a great option as well if you can spend a bit more money. Looks like he likes to get forward, and he does link up quite well, but Ben White is a very solid player, and a real bargain still at 4.4 million. And more importantly, he has 4 clean sheets in his last 8 games. Arsenal look very good as a unit, as a team moving forward, and it's one that I definitely recommend. So Ben White, 4.4 million, 2 bargain purchases. Now we're going to move straight into midfield and look at some options. Now Crystal Palace obviously rolled a number of heads and a couple of eyes this week with their 2-0 defeat of Man City. But there was a couple of star players, Olise, I think I'm saying that right, was one, and rave reviews. Every time he gets the ball, he looks like he's doing something. And there's an awful lot of who do we go. Conor Gallagher looks really good. He's obviously scoring and assisting a ton. But I'm going to mix it up. I'm actually going to go with Wilfried Zaha here. 6.6 million is a little bit more expensive. But the reason I'm going with Zaha is because he's now their lead penalty taker. So if they get any penalty at all, it's going to fall on Wilfried. It's definitely not Wilfried. But he looks like the main leader of that team. He wants to get forward. We know how good he is creatively. He's always had that spark. But the problem with him is he'd lose his temper. He seems to have got that under control and be focusing more on the football that he's playing. So, you know, great penalty taker. And the next 10 games, they've only got one game with a fixture difficulty rating of 3 or more. Of worse than 3, I should say. So, in 10 games, really not a whole lot of difficult opposition. But as Burnley proved last week, it often doesn't mean anything. But I would definitely think Zaha is definitely worth a look at 6.6 million. We then move on to Emile Smith-Rowe. Foolishly snubbed Aston Villa in the summer. Not at all. Looks like that was a great decision on his half. He's only 5.6 million, and more importantly, he's scored 2 goals in his last 2 games. He is a real leader for that Arsenal team, and that young Arsenal team looks fantastic. Saka is another great one to consider, but I personally feel that Smith-Rowe offers more of a goal threat than Saka does. So 5.6 million, he's so cheap, and Arsenal again playing well with not a terrible run of fixtures. Have a look at him. Then we're moving over to Brighton. Now, if you're looking for a little bit of creativity in the next couple of weeks, Tariq Latif could be one to watch. I love him, Paul loves him. We're big fans here at the North End, but when you're talking about actual players that you need to put in right now, it's got to be Trossard. He's been played in a false nine. Obviously, they're missing a couple of key players, and it worked incredibly well, getting them a 2-2 draw with Liverpool last week. And Trossard obviously playing and then being involved in that 2-2. Great goal and a great take. And he's been told specifically to get further forward, and that's something that's come right from the management, and it's what he's being led with now. So expect him to really, really grow on last year, where he already was a great fantasy football player. And again, at 6.4 million, it's really not that expensive, and it could be a great option. Now, the last suggestion, I'm only going to make one in the forward division. Again, crossing those fingers that he doesn't screw me, but I got to go with Ivan Toney over at Brentford. They do still have a great run of fixtures. Newcastle and Norwich, you've got to believe that goals are coming against these opponents. They are hemorrhaging goals in the back, both of these teams. Of course, miraculously, they'll probably keep clean sheets now that I've said that. But Ivan is looking real good. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists in the season so far. But more importantly, he's played every single minute of the Premier League this year. He's one of only 2 players in the league that have done that. And, well, what else do you need to say? That's a great statistic to have and a real, real important one. Now, when it comes to captaincy, it gets a little bit complex because there is a number of good options this week. It's hard to pin one down. Ronaldo, obviously going into the City derby, or I should say the Manchester derby, looks really good, coming off the back of goals in both the game week and also during the European. So Ronaldo looks really, really sharp. Liverpool, can't go wrong there. Mo Salah, scoring week in, week out. I would not blame you if you were going to captain him. So I'd say stick with Mo Salah. Other than that, there's a couple of other good options, but they're really risks. If you want to be creative, maybe look at captaining, a Zaha, maybe look at a defensive captain. I don't really know this week, but I'm going to go with Mo Salah. Keep it simple, keep it with what we know, and go from there. Now, if there's anything that you want to ask, any of those burning questions, Luke, why are you so bad at this? I don't know, please ask me and I'd love to try and answer them. But for now, best of luck with the game week. It can only get better. It can't be anywhere near as bad as last week. And expect some big scoring games. The City and United game, I'm not gonna predict that, but I think it's gonna be an exciting one. Look forward to it. Make sure you check this week's pod out. We got some really great conversation on the go there, and we really got into it about Villa, about Tottenham, and about fragile fans. I'll leave it at that. This is the North End Pod. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. And make sure you come say hello. I'm at L_Conley on Instagram, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.
This is the North End.